Welcome in the Minnesota Vikings Now. I'll be your host for today's show, Patrick Siepman. This is one of my favorite segments we do here at Chat Sports. It's a mailbag. I answer all your guys' questions on our bi-weekly live shows. Straight questions from diehard Vikings fans, answered by a diehard Vikings fan, myself. And we kick it off here with Pass, saying, you got a Lewis Cine update, the safety out of Georgia, that 32nd overall pick last season. No real true injury update, but he has been working out at the Vikings facilities and everything, and he has been working his ass off. Obviously, he's posting a lot of it on social media, which I love. But at Lewis Cine, he's excited to get back. He's had some great quotes that he's really kind of progressing really nicely here. And I'm very excited to see him play with Brian Flores and just the rest of the young Vikings defensive group. Because let's talk about those second-year guys, Caleb Evans, Andrew Booth, Lewis Cine, Brian Asamoah, those big four. Super excited to see them play next season. But overall update, apparently it's all trending in the right direction. We got another super chat rolling in here from my man, Davey Chains. Davey, we really do appreciate it. He says, if we trade Kirk for Lance at a few late-round picks and we lose Hunter, we should trade up for Tyree Wilson as a Danielle Hunter replacement. Davey Chains actually told me in the chat that on Good Morning Football, Tyree Wilson said that he could run a 4.5, which is incredible because he's 6'6", 275 pounds. I would frankly love him as a Danielle Hunter replacement, Davey. I think honestly, if you probably looked at maybe a Tyree Wilson pro comp, I think you could throw out Danielle Hunter as that guy. But Tyree Wilson, I think he's going to be more of a true 4-3 edge in the NFL, 4-3 defensive end, put his hand in the dirt a little bit. But for a Danielle Hunter replacement, if you could somehow get your hands on Tyree Wilson, I'm all in for it. Davey, appreciate the question. Jeff Bartlett, next question coming in here, saying when Lance had a chance, he fell short of expectations. It's like he didn't absorb any of the coaching. Maybe yes on the trade if he sat for one season. So he's talking about the Trey Lance trade rumors that have been being thrown out earlier today and the connection that the Vikings have had to the San Francisco 49ers. But yes, Trey Lance, he hasn't lived up to expectations in San Francisco. If you look at his numbers, they haven't been good. He's only had 4 career starts in the NFL so far, but one of those came in a freaking tsunami in Chicago. And then the other one, he got hurt halfway through. I mean, yes, 54.9% completion percentage. That's nothing at all to write home about. But that dual threat ability about Trey Lance, I really like. He's got 235 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. I love it. Trey Lance, interesting to see. Skull Nation's saying, what's going to happen with Danielle Hunter? This is a good question, a big-time question going amongst Vikings media so far. So if you guys don't know, I'll fill you in. Danielle Hunter, voluntary workouts began this past Monday for the Minnesota Vikings, and he did not show up. Danielle Hunter, he did not show up to voluntary workouts, and many are speculating it is because of the contract. He's only set to make $5 million in this upcoming season, but Danielle Hunter, frankly, he's been fantastic for the Vikings. I would love to bring Danielle Hunter back and extend him for a couple of more years. I mean, 71 sacks in his career so far, 85 tackles for loss. He's the fastest player ever to reach 50 sacks on an NFL or in his NFL career. Danielle Hunter, he's a dog. I would love to bring him back on the Vikings. And if you guys want Danielle Hunter back on the Vikings, just give me a 99 in the comment section. Give me a 99 in the comments. Type his jersey number. I want to see 1,000 99s in the comments because I do feel like Danielle Hunter, he's still got that top 7, top 5 edge in the league potential. I want Danielle Hunter back on the Vikes. I'm sure you do too. Give me a 99 in the comment section. AFX saying #Vikings. Would you trade for a guy like Taysom Hill or Taysom Football? Also, go Brown. Shout out to AFX. Appreciate you. Always showing love to the Chat Sports brand. I would love a guy like Taysom Hill, man. I mean, he has killed the Vikings in past years. He's always been that Swiss Army knife. I mean, I would love to have a guy like that. Because if you think about it, NFL defenses, if you kind of think about game planning during the week, how do you really game plan for Taysom Hill? Like, you don't really have a guy in your practice squad that can replicate what Taysom Hill does on a football field. Pass, catch, throw, run. I mean, whatever it is. Like, special teams also. He's a great special teamer. He really does it all. He really is that Swiss Army knife. I would love for a guy like Taysom Hill to be on the Minnesota Vikings. But the only thing about Taysom Hill, he's one of a kind. I don't think you're going to find many other players like him ever again in the NFL. A guy that can legit play quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, any position on special teams. I would love a guy like that on my roster. I just don't think you're going to find a Taysom Hill-like player besides Taysom Hill. AFX, we appreciate it. Hypebeast 1018 saying Lamar Jackson to the Vikings. Yes, there was that. There's been a couple of dark horse rumors that the Vikings could be going after Lamar Jackson. I think it's unlikely. Obviously, Kirk has a no-trade clause, so moving off him would be pretty hard. But Lamar Jackson to the Vikings, obviously, I would love it. Obviously, he would be able to stay in purple. I think he would take the Vikings to another level. If you're talking about just NFC quarterbacks, it would be probably him or Jalen Hurts as the top quarterback in the NFC, giving him his first true weapon in a guy like Justin Jefferson. Give him a tight end like he loves in Josh Oliver and TJ Hawkinson. Lamar Jackson to the Vikings, I would love it. And also, Vikings weren't able to run the ball at all last year. Adding a guy like Lamar Jackson instantly improves your running game. I would love Lamar on the Vikings. I just really doubt it happens. Untoasted Bread was probably my favorite question I've ever been asked. If you were the GM of another team, what would you give up for Danielle Hunter? This is interesting. Let me think about this. We're talking just draft compensation side of it. I would probably say Danielle Hunter still probably goes for a second-round pick. I would assume he would. Obviously he had 2 pretty major surgeries, but he's also edge rushers are very important in the NFL. I still think you could get a second out of him because Danielle Hunter, those types of players, they don't grow on trees. What would I give up? I would give up at least a second-round pick. Untoasted Bread, appreciate the question. Comment coming in here from a legend on Vikings Now, Scully Roley. He says, who is your dream pick at 23? So my dream pick is a cornerback, no matter what, no matter who it is. But one guy I'm going to zero in on here, Joey Porter Jr. So Joey Porter Jr. in the latest McShay and Kuiper mock draft actually had Joey Porter falling to the Minnesota Vikings at 23. I think, honestly, Joey Porter, he's very similar to Xavier Rhodes, a Vikings legend we can all get behind. That 6'2" frame, 198 pounds, very long arms, very similar to a guy like Xavier Rhodes. Joey Porter, I think he would instantly help a very young and depleted Vikings cornerback room. I think it would be sweet. Give me Xavier Rhodes 2.0 on the Minnesota Vikings. But dream draft prospect, Joey Porter Jr. I'll ask you guys this, though. What is the Vikings' biggest need? You're not allowed to say quarterback. What is the Vikings' biggest need heading into next season? Can't say cornerback, though. I'm going to test you guys here for a second. Give me the Vikings' biggest need in the comment section. Ozzy Osmond coming in saying, should the Vikings go after Bryce Perkins? That's funny. Just as mobile as Lance, but super cheap and has chemistry with KOC. So Bryce Perkins, the quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams, he actually had to step in this past couple of years or past year and play a couple games for the Los Angeles Rams. But Bryce Perkins, I don't really think he's got too much of a future in the NFL. I understand the chemistry with Kevin O'Connell is super cheap. I just don't think you're winning many games as Bryce Perkins as your starting quarterback. Interesting thought there, Ozzy. I would probably be against it. 77 Racing saying, why not go for Stroud no matter the cost? The only thing, and I think my biggest rebuttal for trading up for a quarterback, the draft capital. I mean, the Vikings just don't have a lot of picks. Unless you guys are willing to give up future first-round picks in the upcoming years to go up and get a guy like CJ Stroud. I mean, yeah, CJ Stroud, he's number 2 on my rankings of quarterbacks in this year's draft. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback. I think if you get him in the Vikings system with Jefferson, Darisaw, Kevin O'Connell, I think he'd be really good. But again, the cost, that's what matters. I would love CJ Stroud. I just don't know how much you want to trade for him. The greatest ever saying, if money works, is D-Hop a player the Vikings should trade for? That's an interesting question. I think definitely, yeah. I mean, if money works, why not trade for DeAndre Hopkins? He's one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, past 4 seasons, he's put up ridiculous numbers. I mean, even this past year, only playing 9 games, he put up over 700 yards, 2021 stats. He put up only 572 yards. Obviously, the Cardinals had a lot of injuries to the quarterback position. 2020, just over 1,400 yards. D-Hop is still an electric wide receiver in the NFL. Pairing him up with Justin Jefferson, I think it would be something. But I'll ask you guys this again. Do you want to trade for Hopkins? Give me a T for trade or give me a P for pass if you would pass on trading for DeAndre Hopkins. I'd be all in for it. Obviously, the money is the kind of X factor here because the Vikings are last in cap space. Money works out. Answer that question. Do you want to trade for Hopkins? Friendly little reminder, guys, subscribe to the channel. Easy way to help us out here. at Vikings Now by Chat Sports. Really appreciate it. Again, thank you guys so much for watching today's Minnesota Vikings Mailbag. See you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.